Hello guys, what's up? Elita-Legionarii here, bringing you some more Napoleon Total War action. I believe this is the 21st Napoleon battle on my channel. I can't exactly remember, I think it is. Anyway, this was a really nice 3v3 played on the Galatian rear map. I really like this map. Great mixture of sort of rolling hills, nothing too extreme, trees, sort of gullies, if you will. Roads. It's just a very good map. It's buildings to use if you want to play that sort of role. A really good map. I really enjoy this one. One of my favourites. So I'm playing as the Ottoman Empire. I really like the Ottoman Empire because I like their specific style. It's sort of a very cav, sword aggressive attack, which is a wee bit more tricky to pull off in Napoleon, given that it's a gun-based game. But I really like the the Ottoman effort, Ottoman approach to fighting in this game. I really like it. So my army consists of a general's bodyguard. I have, I believe it was 5 or 6 units of Nizam-e-Kadit infantry. These are line infantry, not very good line infantry as far as the game's concerned, but they suffice enough to do the job at hand. I believe it was 4 units of Nizam-e-Kadit light infantry, and I believe I had a Nizam-e-Kadit rifle as well, which was accidentally chosen. I didn't choose it deliberately, but it turns out to be somewhat useful because it's got a little bit more range. It is here somewhere. I'm not sure where. Then I've got 2 units of Semat Janissaries. These guys are really nice in melee. Then I've got 1 Bashi Bazouk, also very good in melee and rather cheap too. And then for my cavalry, I've got the absolutely excellent Scimitar Guard. This is, I'm pretty sure, the very best cavalry unit in the game. It's completely beast. Then I've got, I think I've got 4 of those. Then I've got a Sipahi Cav, which is also a very high tier cavalry. So very good cavalry for the Ottomans. So what I'm doing here is charging up the hill. Let me just go to slow motion. I also have a mounted Nizam-e-Kadit unit here. This is a gun cavalry unit, just because it can be useful. And of course the general, which I already mentioned, and then these melee units. So what I'm doing here is, there's this prominent hill feature here on my side of the map, which is important to get fairly early on in the piece. So I'm charging up to get it here. You can see my ally who is playing as Spain, he's already put some skirmish units here, because they've got that special guerrilla deployment, so we can get up here and establish the hill a bit quicker. But I'm going to pause it so I can outline the other armies. Actually, no, I can probably stay in slow-mo. So yeah, my ally here, elite units of America, or Proteus Valerious, very awesome Roman sounding name, is playing as the Spanish, which is a very fun faction indeed. I like the way they work. He's got, I believe it was, looks like 6 units of, wait a minute, sorry, 4 units I can see of Fusilier. He's got probably 2 Walloon Guard out here. Very nice guard unit. A general's bodyguard back here. Actually, no. Oh, this is one of. He's got a specialist general here, Francisco Castanos. I don't know. My Spanish is shit. 2 more Fusiliers back here. He's got 2 Hussars here, so essentially just Hussars. Another Fusilier here. Some light infantry here, and then of course those light infantry units that he's got up here to deploy fast to help me. So that is his army, and then to my left, the battle just isn't complete without the Swedishlandsknekt as my ally. He's playing as Prussia. I was going to say Russia then, but it is Prussia. His army consists of, let's see, 8th Life Regiment and 2 foot guards as the elite contingent on the left. He's got a lancer, 2 lancers out here supporting them. Then he's got, let's see, some Prussia Fusilier, of course, excellent unit here. Interesting what Swedes has done here. He's not in like light infantry doctrine, nor is his lines stretched out like you're supposed to. I don't know what he was doing there. I'm sure there was a reason. Musketeer line, of course, for Prussia, and there's a 6-pounder horse artillery for speed. All in all, pretty solid, standard sort of Prussian build there with the lancers, because they've got very good cheap lancers, and lancers are great. So standard sort of Prussian build there for Swedes. We have a British opponent over here who has got, let's see, he's actually using rifles, interestingly enough. Rifles have got longer range, but got 30 less men than light infantry units. So usually light infantry units are better if you're going for numbers, because once you get into range, they'll mop up the rifles fairly quickly. But if you've got very specific terrain features and interesting points to use, you can take advantage of the longer range of rifles. But generally speaking, people will bring light infantry, maybe 1 or 2 rifles just to back them, but mostly it's light infantry for the greater numbers. He's got some fencibles here, and then he's got 4 foot, 6 foot, let's see, 7, 8 foot, He's got another 9 foot, and I don't think he's got. Let's see, he's got some King's German Light Dragoons out there. Don't think he's got a heck of a lot else, to be honest. You can do this with Britain, though. You don't actually need to bring like their elite guard units. You just bring a crap load of foot because they've got such good gunnery skills. He's also got a 5-inch howitzer, a very good choice. Howitzers are great, especially at taking on infantry. So that's a good British army there. Although he probably should move some units up here to support these light units. Anyway, the enemy Prussian army here has got looks like it's got some grenadiers on the right. A couple of got a Landwehr unit there. Foot guards. Let's see, foot guards. He's got 3 foot guards. General staff. Is that 1, 2? Actually, that's 4 foot guards and a grenadier. Holy crap! He's got a lot of very strong units there. Then he's got a mixture of line infantry, and he's got Jaegers and a Silesian Schütz in there. Interesting choice. Really great, extremely good, accurate unit. But again, if it gets into a prolonged straight-out fight with light infantry, unless it's got the range advantage, it will actually eventually lose just in numbers. Then he's got. I think he's not brought cavalry, so that he's got all these guard units. I think that's how it's working for him. And look at this. This is a nice move by a Spanish ally. He's put one of his husares, one of the guerrilla units back here. This is going to be a nice little trap later on. And finally, our opponent here in France has got a couple of Voltigeurs over here. He's put 2 Voltigeurs in the building here. Then he's got Young Guard, Dutch Grenadiers, Young Guard, Old Guard. Holy crap, his main line's made up of guard units, General's Bodyguard, and then Carbineers that I can see. So, and he's also got a Grand Battery of Convention. So this is a very, very elite army with very, very expensive units indeed. This is a very good piece of artillery, but again, it's very large, very powerful. Napoleon loved his artillery. He was an artillery officer in the early stages of his career, so he knew how to make good use of artillery, so that's kind of a representation of that in here. So as you can see here, the action gets much more involved on my side than my opponent, so I'm going to push up here. My opponent is lacking in lights, so I'm just going to push my lights up in a minute and start shooting them in detail here. One has to be careful when facing France, in my opinion, though, with the Ottomans, because France has got very strong units that can stand up to all the Ottoman line units. So if you can't get your melee and cav into an advantage against France, you do tend to fold fairly quickly. But my opponent doesn't have a lot of versatility in his army. He's got a carbineer here, and I don't really think he's got much in the way of cavalry. He's got a lot of very elite units, but not much versatility. So if I use my versatility, my cav well, I should be able to take advantage of that. So I'm going to push up here. Once I didn't realise initially that he didn't have other units here. I don't think he's put his Voltigeur here. He should just had him here in the woods, and they could have fired with me. But I've got up onto the hill quicker than him. He should not have let me get to the hill, because he's actually a bit closer to the hill than I am. I start off way back here. He starts off just sort of over here, and he can get up onto this hill faster if you're on this side. But he let me have the hill, which is not a good idea. Anyway, I'm going to send my cav out to the right, and I got my the Seamat Chanceries and Bashi Bazook there as well, and I want to kind of shift them up his wing here and strike on that area of the battlefield. The other side really doesn't have a lot happening. There's a little bit of artillery action coming in against Swedes here with that howitzer unit. That will do quite a bit of damage. In my opinion, he's making his wrong target though, shooting that artillery. I'd be going for Swedes foot guard units, to be honest, or other line infantry, because howitzers do great against infantry like that. So my opponent makes a pretty big mistake here. He charges up an old guard. I was going to charge it here with this unit, but I pull that out. I'm about to pull it out. But this is a bad move because he's just in range of my skirmish units and that sort of thing. So I'm going to bring up my line infantry too, just to put extra overwhelming firepower down on this guard unit. He takes it out, but he's just letting it get shot by like extra units. As you can see, my ally brings up his light units, so he had his guerrilla units he had to support me here. And as you can see, this old guard unit basically just gets ganged up on by a lot of different units here, and it gets kind of wasted. Again, these Voltigeurs here, no need for them to be in this building. I see this, so I'm not even going to make an attack in that direction. I'm just going to focus my attention on this side and overwhelm him. So here you can see the French cav comes in the Carbineers to try and get the Spanish light units, but I bring in 2 Silatar guard to help him out here, and these French units are going to get pretty cleaned out fairly quickly by these really great Ottoman cavalry. They're extremely good cavalry there indeed. And he's just completely wasted an old guard. They're very expensive and very useful unit, and he needs to use his guard units very well, because if he doesn't, he's just going to not stand much of a show at all, because otherwise I'll just be able to take him out in detail. And he's sort of fighting me a bit piecemeal, which isn't so great for him. Not much happening on that other wing over there. Swedes are still under bombardment, and I believe this Grand Artillery Convention's under bombing these guys as well. But I should imagine my ally will spring these two. He's actually got 2 cavalries here as well. He had a lancer here as well. So he'll spring that as well. Get rid of that artillery, no doubt, when the time comes. As you can see over here, this Carbineer has fought very well, actually. It's done a very good job. I think maybe it's another Carbineer. I think maybe he had 2 Carbineers. I'm not sure. But yeah, it's done a very good job. It got rid of one of those Spanish units. But my guys are stuck in melee now. Relatively even, but I'm going to send another one around and just hammer him in the flank there, so that should get rid of that. So I pushed these guys up on this side, but I'm just actively looking to avoid this building here with his Voltigeur. His Voltigeur are just pointless in here. He's letting himself get overwhelmed over here, so the 2 Voltigeur over here are just getting beaten up by greater numbers, and I'm on greater terrain. So as you can see, I'm pulling around my rifles around here, and I'm going to put down that rear charge on these Carbineers, get rid of them so I can free up my other Scimitar guard. But a lot of my stray shots too are coming through and hitting these guys in the flank and the back here. But these guys here, they're getting shot up. It's a Dutch Grenadier. It's already lost 11 men, and it's not achieving anything. These are very expensive, very strong units, but he's just not using them to their potential. And he's just letting me fight him with greater numbers, and I'll just win that fight. Even though my units are a lot inferior in quality, he's not choosing his fights very well. So I'm going to look to really push this flank over here. I'm confident that up on the high ground with the woods here, I can simply hold this section over here. So I'm still doing a holding action over here, and I'm going to really put pressure on, try and roll up from this flank. If we look down here, you can see that the British is moving up. Again, if I had been Swedes, I may have been inclined to make some aggressive cavalry actions. I think maybe he actually did do that. I'm not sure. Because these line units are kind of far behind, and there's not a heck of a lot of cavalry with Britain here. Our opponent's team are lacking in cavalry, which really aids us in this fight. So you can see I've shifted my army onto 2 axes here. I've got one here and I've got one across through here, and I'm going to swing up this way. So I'm sending my cav this way, and I'm either going to work on doing 2 things: forcing squares so I can easily win the gunfight, or just charging in against opponents that don't make it to squares. So as you can see, I push in here with some artillery coming in on my Janissary here. I'm going to charge in on these guys. They're old guard, and they're tough units indeed, but even against these kind of cavalry, they'll still lose if they don't get into squares. So I managed to do that, and I kind of screw up with my infantry though. I keep these ones shooting. I should turn them off, but I forgot. So I'm probably going to lose a bunch of my cav to friendly fire there, which was really stupid on my part. But let's get some nice close up here. I love this gun mod. The smoke effects work really well. Looks really good. Sounds fantastic. And I got good positioning there, so these guys are taking a pretty hefty beating. As you can see, the Spanish cav is now being tripped, so this grand battery here of convention is going to get absolutely destroyed. It's a very expensive piece of unit that's going to amount to very little. And as you can see, my cavalry is just rolling up the flank here. I've got a large rout on some very elite units of France, but again, my own shots are still moving in. I forgot to turn fire at well off, and that really ended up killing a shitload of my own cavalry doing that. So it was a bad mistake on my part. Do got to watch that. But I'm just going to keep pushing now anyway. I'm going to charge this remaining unit of Young Guard here. And these are all very, very nice French Guard units, and they're getting creamed. I finally decided to stop shooting them here after I realised just how much my cavalry was getting owned by me doing that by mistake. As you can see, the Prussian players brought some units up to support here, but again, I'm in a good position here. My allies coming in to back me at this stage anyway. Still not a lot happening on the Swedes side, just artillery battles. Swedes made he made a pretty big cavalry mistake here. He tried to catch some of these other light units out, I think, but he ended up getting his cavalry killed, I think. So that was a bit of a mistake on his part. I do recall that happening to him in the battle. Over here, as you can see, I'm still shooting. I've still forgot to turn that off. But as you can see, the Young Guard, Old Guard, they're all routing now. Getting wasted by the melee units here, and they got pretty hammered by the cav. But as you can see, I let my cav take way too much damage because of that poor not turning fire at will mode off there. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to send my Semat Janissaries and wipe out these Voltigeur in the building. They're great at that kind of thing. They'll do a fantastic job. So as you can see, I'm now pushing up on Prussia. So the French player has been very easily defeated. He didn't have a very well balanced out army, and when you don't have a well balanced out army, you really need to be able to put yourself into a position to use your specifically aimed strength to your advantage. So he aimed with a lot of guards, which is typical of France, some very powerful artillery, but not a lot of skirmish and regular lines, so he really needed to get himself into a situation where his powerful guards could win in one section, but he didn't really manage it, so he just sort of got overwhelmed by numbers and better terrain. And that's the thing with Napoleon Total War. Sometimes, qualities are a wee bit harder to use. I guess it's easier to sometimes just go with numbers, even though numbers are not as good. It's just the numbers are great. You've got no great numbers, so you can overwhelm through numbers, which is pretty much what I did here. And I'm just mopping up some of these musketeers here. Again, my ally kind of just keeps shooting as well, so I end up losing my cav. So a bit of a screw up there with the cav. But it doesn't really matter. As you can see, I've come away with a ton load of my men left. Wasted cav, honestly, but it's not drastic now because the situation's really quite good versus Prussia in the middle here. And Swedes just doesn't need to take an engagement yet at all. We'll just put pressure on Prussia simultaneously from two ends, and depending on what Britain does, Swedes just needs to kind of cloak him, shadow him, and basically just work it that way and just go from there, because we're rolling up this flank. So I've got my CMATs inside the building. Let's get inside the building and have a little look, see what's going on. And these CMATs will just absolutely just rip these Voltigeurs to bits. I mean, they can take on like Old Guard and stuff in the melee. So yeah, these Voltigeurs are not going to last at any time at all. They're just going to get absolutely smoked by those guys. So awesome melee unit, but they can be a bit tricky to get into the engagement. Once you do, though, if you can get them in safely, supported by those Scimitar Guard, the Ottomans can really kick off a mass rout. Works very well against Austria, because I find the Austrian units not quite as strong with the morale. At least, although the Emperor's Own, the 47 Czech, and what's the other one called? The other specialist unit, the Archduke Legion, I think it is. Those guys can stand up to it, but most of the Hungarian Grenadiers, the Hungarian Fusilier and German Fusilier, their morale isn't that great, so it tends to rout. I find that's really cool. I had a really good battle once where I used the Ottomans against the Austrians to do that. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to save the replay because it crashed. But it was friggin' awesome that I routed them so fast with some very similar build to what I'm using here. So yeah, very kind of rushy, aggressive faction if you ask me. You don't want to muck around in a grind out with the Ottomans because I just don't think they have what it takes. So you can see that Britain's kind of looking to pull away a bit here. To be honest here, the Prussian players should have done the same. They should have just kind of consolidated up around here with these woods and these high grounds and just played a defensive role. That or the British player probably should have got aggressive with Swedes, because the Swedes had lost his cavalry, so he probably had numerical numbers with infantry, so he really could have got aggressive with Swedes. If he managed to knock Swedes out, then it would have stabilised and evened out, but as it is, me and my Spanish ally just move up, and we're just going to put overwhelming numbers down here. And these are foot guards, so they're good units, but they're just fighting so many men. They're fighting like 3 times as many men here. They're completely outflanked. So these guys are going to get pretty hammered. Even though they're foot guards, a great unit, but they're just not got what it takes to take on this amount of men. Again, I love this map. This map is so good. Like trees, sort of like ditches, gullies, hills, just variety. It's a very good map. Very good map. But as you can see, overwhelming firepower coming in on them now. From all our guys here, and I've got a complete outflank on him, and he's just getting absolutely shot at the flank. So those poor guards don't really stand much of a chance. They're getting absolutely hammered. So yeah, the British player does, in my opinion, a smart move. He extricates, but he could have done 2 things. He could have really attacked Swedes, although that wouldn't have probably been as... It's doable, but at the same time it would have been quite easy for the Spanish player to back Swedes up anyway, given that I had my army completely flanking Prussia here and he still had half. He could just split his army in half and send half to Sweden and leave half here, so that way they'd still outnumber Britain over there. But he didn't go with that route, so I think he made probably the most intelligent move. Even he could have worked at killing Swedes, but I think the most intelligent move was to pull back. But his allies should have pulled back with him so that they could have consolidated their numbers. But as it is, this Prussian player is just going to get isolated and cut down by a combined Spanish and Ottoman army here. So yeah, he's getting pretty owned here now. Some of these looks like some of these Spanish cav made a restrike in the back here. It's causing all sorts of strife. These guys are not really able to fire back easily. As I said, that gun mod is fantastic. And look at this. This is what you call extreme close fire. One of these Fusiliers are not got fire at will on, because he's like literally point blank range here. Come on guys, fire. I want to see this. I want to see point blank fire. And yeah, I mean, look, it's point blank right in each other's faces there, so that's real close fire there. In fact, he's still right up in their faces there. That's interesting. Don't know why he went that close, and considering all our units here are still able to fire at them. So anyway, yeah, the British players completely extricated himself to the backfield. About all he can really do at this stage. So Swedes is just going to start moving up, keep the pressure on him, and we'll just mop up the last of this central Prussian player here. So as you can see, a lot of these guys are starting to lose now. You can see a bit of a bayonet charge being initiated here, so let's get in close. They got a downhill charge, so they probably will start winning that for a bit, but they're very heavily outnumbered now, and they'll probably get shot in the flank, so that's not going to go too well for them. Spanish infantry really isn't that particularly good, apart from the fact they can deploy outside of their deployment zone and be guerrilla style. The Walloon Guard's an excellent guard unit, but beyond that, their infantry really isn't that great. Their cavalry's not too bad, though. They've got some good versatility with their cavalry, but it's that guerrilla deployment that really makes Spain work out. This is actually a grenadier unit, so it's actually losing too, but I'd be surprised if it's winning now, I think. Oh no, maybe not. It's probably just heavily outnumbered, and the morale effect is affecting that army, because grenadiers should make very short work of line infantry, in melee at least. They tend to lose in gunnery, not because the gunnery skills are better, but there's 30 less men in the unit, so that just kind of works against them. I wish grenadiers were full strength units, but then they probably would make guards a bit null and void. So maybe I think what they should have done is made grenadiers full strength units, or maybe given them just only very slightly less men, maybe like 10 less men, or tanked up foot guards or guard units just to make them a little bit better, so that they could still be considered better than grenadiers. But again, like, grenadiers were always committed to crucial parts of the lines and close quarters combat and that sort of thing. So I find them tricky to use though in Napoleon, unless it's going in for building action. They're great in there, but because they're really good at melee. But it's just hard to make them work, if you ask me, because of that lack of numbers. At least when it comes to gunnery skills. Suffice to say, at this stage I'm going to send my Seamat Janissary in to fight these foot guards. Now my Janissary are pretty tired. They've been running around all battle. But they will most likely defeat this foot guard that's really heavily depleted, and there you go, it's starting to rout. So essentially the Prussian player is gone. I've moved my army up here, Swedes has moved his army up, and we're going to make a final push on the British army over here. So let's go and go to triple speed here, because there's just a little bit of waiting around at first. But yeah, very inflexible opponents. They didn't really do much. Like, we pushed our flank pretty hard, and then we just started rolling the flank up. So it's been so far a pretty straightforward sort of battle. They haven't really made any aggressive actions or any sort of tactical positions or maneuvers to do much. Over here you can see some of the British cavalry units appear to have made a bit of a push against Swedes, but Swedes has got his guys into squares. He's also got cavalry here, so this British cavalry unit will most likely rout here in a minute. I think he is trying to get rid of Swedes general, but that pull through is not going to work, and he's going to most likely lose his King's German Light Legion Dragoon. Again, Britain's one of the solid tough guy factions. Tough guy factions. What? That's a really random terminology. It's a tough faction. One of the best factions, to be sure. Their gunnery skills with their line infantry is just superb. In fact, I'm pretty sure they're the best at it, as they should be. I mean, the British infantry, I believe it was to fire was it like 3 shots in 2 minutes, or was it? I think it was. They aimed to fire more, whereas other nations tended to focus more on getting some rounds off and then going for the bayonet charge. Britain really focused on that whole aspect of getting more extra shots in, so they were very fast. The redcoats were very, very fast at that type of thing, at shooting. So that's why Britain, you can bring a crap load of foot units, and they're very reliable. They just keep them and they're pretty good in melee too. There were no slouches there either, and then they are not that way. They're good at melee in the game too, rather. Alrighty, as you can see, I'm pushing up on the right flank, and Swedes will push up in a minute here. He should be able to win the skirmish duel here, because the Prussian Fusilier is a better unit at skirmishing than the rifles. Just the rifles have greater range, but Prussian Fusilier are pretty much one of the very best skirmish units in the game, to be sure. Only slightly outclassed by the Portuguese unit, I believe. I forget what it's called, but considering how much crap Portugal is in other areas, it definitely makes Prussia the skirmisher king in support by other units. So we're pushing up here. I'm getting on the flank. Let's go back to triple speed here. and you can see we're just moving in here. I'm just starting to swing that flank around a little bit, trying to distract Britain here. Britain's going to do quite well against me here because I am really tired now. I've fought like 2 full armies, and my guys are tired and depleted. As you can see, once he gets his numbers up here at the foot, he really starts to do a lot of damage. Again, I'm not sure why he brought his rifles back like this, so I don't think they've got it over the top of his allies' heads kind of line of fire, so he's going to get a lot of his foot ruined this way. Spain is up supporting Swedes, and again the Prussian Fusiliers' light skills, his light infantry is extremely good, and they're going to do a lot of damage to these foot. He's doing a good move by having lines, but at this stage not much he can really do given how much he's outnumbered. So I send my guys in here for a bayonet charge. They're out of ammo, but that doesn't particularly matter at this stage. They're going to rout versus Britain, but what I want to try and do is just make it so that Swedes can really focus most of his attention on just a small portion of the British line, so he can quickly break it. So yeah, these guys are out of ammo. They're going to get absolutely creamed by these foot in melee combat, but it doesn't matter because it'll keep 2 or 3 British units out of the action. At the moment, we really wanted Spain to move up. I don't know why he took so long, but he should have moved up much sooner than this. I don't know why he's sitting back so far. I mean, we could take our time if we want, but we might as well just overwhelm Britain, and before he gets into a really good defensive position, which he's pretty much got into anyway. As you can see, went into bayonet charge here. Going to get creamed there, but what I'm trying to do is just, it's keeping 2 or 3 units over here out of action. Had the Spanish units been up, he could have brought them up and he would have been firing, and these guys wouldn't fire back. Here come the Semats and the Bashi bazooks now. These guys are going to do quite a bit of damage, but again, they're pretty damn tired as well. But it's going to keep these British guys away from Swedes, who's now able to actually outflank with his foot guards here, although there is a foot unit going to be blocking this area, but Swedes can just bayonet charge it, and I think it's only going to get 1 volley off. Melee battle like this, he is winded, but he will win that. He's got two units anyway, which is working out really well. Swedes should really just push up here though, because there's a good number of these guys distracted by my dudes over here. Brought up some of my guys with the remaining ammo. The Semat Janissaries and Bashi Bazooka actually rout. They will come back, but they've done their bit. They've already fought 2 armies, so it's alright that they rout at this stage. But they've definitely distracted this side, so that this left wing and centre area can be weakened more severely. So as you can see, Swedes guys are actually tired, so they're losing here, and they're a bit outnumbered because they got shot at. But a testament to the British ability in melee here. But Swedes should still win this fight eventually, I should think. He'll turn it round when he puts this unit into the battle as well. Although there are some fencibles here, but again, Swedes should really not worry about that. They're just crappy fencibles. He's bringing up his 8th Life Regiment here as well. This unit will stabilise the situation. But these foot guards are actually losing, but it's probably because they're just more tired and they're more depleted. They're definitely a better unit than foot at melee. So yeah, Swedes goes into squares here, obviously, because there's this Lance unit. Wait, it was his general's unit actually, which he just killed with his Lancer unit. So he really should just go out of foot now and just go kill that fencible or go kill that unit there. As you can see, pushing up through the centre now. The Walloon guards have come in on the centre, reinforced the centre there. I think he should have pushed the flank with the Walloon guards, to be honest, because there was already pressure on this flank, and if both flanks had caved, then the centre would have broken away immediately. But it doesn't really matter at this stage anyway. We've already won it. As you can see, Swede is pushing around the left up here, and as you can see, the numbers are now down. Still musketeers in reserve, and I've got my gun units up here as well now. Most of them are very close to being out of ammo, but got these remaining units up here firing away. And the British army is just essentially overwhelmed, even though a very valiant effort by the British, as is always to be expected from those jolly good chaps in the red coats. So, again though, not a particularly difficult battle because our opponents really didn't initiate anything. They just sort of, their armies were not very balanced, versatile if you ask me, so they were kind of easy to defeat with combined arms approach, and they didn't really do any sort of major tactical positioning or actions or anything, so it wasn't a particularly difficult battle. We had good teamwork, pressured that flank up there, took the French out and basically just rolled it up, and then Swedes pushed up and locked down the British player. So unfortunately with this battle, I was basically, what I really don't like about all these later Total War games, I think it's like Napoleon onwards, is, or maybe even be Empire onwards, sometimes in multiplayer battles you get about 10 seconds to save the replay, and I was trying to think of a name very quickly, and it ended before I could save the replay, so I wasn't able to save the replay. Fortunately, Swedes was, so I can show you his statistics, I can't show you mine. If we look here, the Prussian Fusilier, as I said, very good unit for Prussia, he got high kills with those. 8th Life Regiment, these guys got some pretty good kills. Overall, Swedes didn't do a heck of a lot of killing, to be honest. He just locked down the British team. He got 794 kills here, so not a lot. Myself and Proteus got quite a bit more. 1,300 kills for me and 1,166 for Proteus here. So the French player really just let me roll over his guys. He had a very strong elite army, but it wasn't very versatile, and I got my cav and Semats into a good position and essentially just rolled them over. Good support from Spain through the centre, and we just teamed up on this Prussian player, and then Britain put up a good fight in the end by himself, but it was 3 versus 1. He couldn't do anything about it. So really, it was just not very much teamwork from our opponents, and probably not very versatile builds by some of them that kind of limited their effectiveness. Overall, I had a fun game. It's always fun to use the Ottomans. I can't tell you how it kind of kills my individual units got, but I would suspect the cavalry and the Semats got a lot of kills. Then again, the line probably got quite a lot of kills too, because it got into some pretty good positions during that battle. Suffice to say, it was a fun game. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Remember, check out the Swedishlandsknekt channel. I'll be linking it in the description. Excellent channel, and you'll be sure to enjoy it, I'm sure, if you go check it out. So thanks again, guys. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you soon next time.